1.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mayor Cyril Jefferson convening a special meeting of the High Point City Council. Here with me in the room, we have every member of council present, save council members Holmes and Johnson and Mayor Pro Tem Moore. Before we get into business, I'll ask if there is a motion to adopt our agenda.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Councilmember Andrew and seconded by Councilmember Cook. Any discussion on the motion to adopt our agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and we have our agenda. First item, 2025-150, Fair Housing Update. For that, we'll recognize Managing Director Hollis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Madam Manager. As Jerron Hollis, Managing Director, wanted to just take a few minutes and give council an update on our Fair Housing Initiative. The update is kind of going to get you up to speed of where we are year to date and what the next steps are in our Fair Housing Substantial Equivalence process. So just a quick snapshot. We'll also want to recognize Race McCray, who's the Division Manager for Human Relations, and he's got all the in the weeds technical answers if we have questions later on. So just to give you a quick snapshot for this fiscal year, you can see there on the slide, just to highlight there, we've had 7 complaints that we've sent to the State Human Relations Commission, our regular routine of conducting fair housing trainings, and the landlord-tenant interaction that we typically do. So we're on pace to have a just as busy, if not busier year this year than we've had in previous years.
Would you entertain questions while we're going, or would you prefer to wait till the end?
I prefer to wait to the end, but if there's something that you have, this is only a couple of slides, so we'll be there before you know it. Don't forget it though, because then I'll feel the time.
I wrote it down.
Okay. Here's a timeline from when we started the discussion to where we are now. The thing that I want you to keep in mind, or some of the latest developments, are that in January, we got approval. The Fair Housing Ordinance that the council passed was approved, and the 3-year interim certification status was completed by HUD. And what we're looking at now, today, as of today, our new investigator has joined the team as far as the new hire, and that puts us in position to move to our next steps of, once we get more of the dialogue with HUD and the final certification steps, will move us toward a point of being able to start the process of receiving concerns and doing the landlord training that we talked about for the last couple of years. Now, as far as the onboarding process, there were 2 other municipalities that were brought in this cycle with us, with some of the challenges at the federal level with staff reductions in HUD. It's created some opportunities, some delays, but we're still on pace for what our individual timeline is for the city of High Point. And we hope that as things get more to equilibrium, that we'll be able to continue with some of the standard partnerships and support that we've had, that the program has offered in the past. One key piece here, once you get that interim certification status, there's also opportunities for HUD funds that will come to the city, things that we will use for training, development, programs, those kinds of things. So those conversations have started as a result of us being an approved Fair Housing Assistance Program. So that conversation is ongoing. So for next steps, we are identifying our training resources for our staff member that's there. What that would look like is us finding opportunities to work with existing programs as well as HUD resources to make sure that our staff are trained to the level and standard that HUD expects as part of our agreement. When the training is completed, we are hopeful that by fall of 2025, fall of later on this year, that we'll be able to take incoming cases and complaints and be able to work with that. And during that time, we'd also start the training to the community, landlords, different groups that have need and questions about making sure that they're in compliance and know what to expect from the fair housing standards. So that's my last slide. Councilman Andrew, you said you were going to wait for some questions.
Yes.
I'll take questions now.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
This
sir.
slide, year-to-date fair housing activities, 3 fair housing trainings conducted. To whom were these training conducted? To the individuals or landlords or both?
I'll ask Race to answer the specifics on that one, but that's
Yeah,
right.
so the fair housing trainings are usually a mix. I'd have to look at my exact calendar to tell you exactly how the breakdown is here. We get asked a couple different things. One would be realtors. The Realtors Association has often brought us in for new realtors. Every realtor has to do some fair housing training every year, and especially new realtors need it. So we've often done that. That, I think, was one of the trainings. Then one of the other ones was, and sometimes I also then go give like an update, like here are the most, fair housing law is not like wildly changing year to year, but there usually are some like, hey, some new guidance got issued about this, so I might go give an update training like that as well. They're also training for our residents, so one of the ones that's coming up is that the Latino Family Center asked me to come over and talk about fair housing with some of their residents. That could be an example, or it might be, maybe something that we even convene. It could be, for example, since this is Fair Housing Month, we might host a summit where we bring folks to talk about that. We're not doing that this month because we're in such the middle of the process. We didn't think it was the best time to do that, but we are going to host a Fair Housing Summit later in the year that will do exactly that. Does that answer your question? I'd have to check my calendar to say exactly what those 3 trainings were, but I'm happy to provide that information.
If you can provide in future, later on, that would be great. And then any future training, I'd like a heads up on that, please, if it fits my schedule. The final question, the fair housing investigator, new hire, so we added staff to fill that position?
Consistent with the approval that we got in the previous budget,
Okay, so
yes.
that person
was
has
a
been
vacancy.
hired?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
What other questions?
Jerron, I may have missed that, sorry, it's Councilman Holmes.
Okay.
The breakdown of the 91 landlord-tenant issues, do we have do we have categories for what they were, particularly what we saw in those issues?
We do group them, and Race, I'll talk about the group. Race, we're going to talk about how we group those.
Yeah, so we currently have a form, and we definitely group them in terms of where we've sent them for assistance. That's how we currently think about them. So some of them, the 91 does not necessarily include the second half, where it's the 7 fair housing complaints, because that's its own category that gets broken out. And when we recommend them to the NCHRC, that's its own thing. But a good number of them are going to be that they're landlord-tenant in the sense of minimum housing complaints.
Sure.
And obviously, we track those, and it's the inspectors and code enforcement are already tracking those, but we kind of track that they've come to our office and that we recommended them out. And then a number of them are also complaints where it might be maybe a dispute about rent or something like that, where it's not the same as a minimum housing complaint. Maybe, hey, my landlord has broken my lease by raising my rent unfairly, but my lease says it's supposed to be the same. What are my options? So we might send them to the UNCG eviction mediation program. Those are probably the 2 biggest categories. Sometimes there are, I'm behind on my rent and I might be evicted, or maybe a common one might be, I'm responsible for utilities, but a pipe broke underground that's on our property. The landlord didn't address it right away, so I have now a $400 or $500 utility bill because water just was spewing out.
Sure.
Since it's my responsibility, I don't know how to pay it, but I'm having this kind of dispute with my landlord about it. They might be able to give me some assistance later on, We might send them to a community resource network agency that could help them with some emergency rentals or utility assistance.
Thank you.
I can provide the breakdown of where we're going if you want. We've never done that before, but I'd be happy to
Yeah.
calculate it out.
Yeah, I would like that too, yeah. Because that'll help us be able to really analyze this and, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I want to say thank y'all for this update. It's been interesting to hear it. But I think I heard you mention, Director Hollis, is that not only are you navigating the fact that we're waiting to get our program approved at the federal level or some of those pieces that go through it, but it also sounds like we just onboarded an investigator. And also, I know you all had some other turnover in the Human Relations Department as team members are transitioning to other governments. It's incredible to see this. I'll be interested, I guess, and maybe if you all have any idea of it, what it looks like when you're sort of fully going and everything in place, from the federal folks being in place, the investigator fully onboarded and comfortable and going, and then maybe a new team member in. Do you see some of those numbers increasing? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think to your point, there's a lot of steps that we've covered and a few more to go. Broadly, we have the pieces in place as far as moving forward. There are some other details like finalizing the funding, so if we were doing training opportunities, so those things are still in the pipeline. But from the standpoint of having interim certification and being able to start training the investigator, this is just a matter of time of us getting up to speed. Some of this, we would expect that when this is, when we're fully ready to start taking those, we could get folks that come in and have questions, and then it's back to what Race was talking about, delineating what's a fair housing concern versus what's a minimum housing concern versus what's a landlord-tenant issue. So some of the things that we're doing now will continue. We just have more capacity to be able to provide support in a level that we couldn't before. I don't know if that answered your question, Mr. Mayor.
No, it does, thank you. Any other questions?
I was just gonna ask, is there any expected delay in the funding due to the other issues that HUD is having right now?
I don't have any updates specifically on timeline. The onboarding program has its own challenges, but I don't have any updates on whether we're looking one way or the other beyond a timeline that would have been in place before. That's one of the many things that's kind of up in the air. But as soon as we know something, we'll make sure we work that through the appropriate channels.
Are there any sticking points here with this item that we can be more supportive of from the council level?
And we appreciate the support that we've gotten and the leadership from our manager, and we just wanted to keep you in the loop with an FYI.
Any other questions, comments, anything? Director Hollis, thank you to the team. Please give Mr. Biggs our congratulations on the new baby. So we've got a baby Bishop and a baby Biggs here at City Hall. And I assume Madam Manager will tell me if we have any other folks we should be celebrating. I don't want to leave anyone out. So we're glad to shout out new babies here. I know you all have a lot going on with everything going on in the team. So we wish you all the best as you continue to engage the folks around our city.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. All right, we'll transition to our next item, which is closed session for personnel, item 2025-149. Is there a motion to go in closed session?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Holmes, seconded by Councilmember Andrew. Any discussion on the motion to go into closed session? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and we are in closed session.